Hey, how you guys doing? So today we're going to do a little comparing, as I alluded to. We're going to take a look at a couple of books that have some programs and diets. And really, if you remember what I said earlier, was that I believe that many of these programs and diets are nothing more than cut phases, and they're used by bodybuilders all the time, and that really they're at some level all of these programs and diets are the same, and there's certain principles that they have in common. So I want to share those with you, and I'm gonna use the books themselves to prove my point. Bill Phillips' Body for Life, and hopefully that shows the right way because I'm looking here in the film and it's kind of backwards. So hey, I'm new to this. Anyway, Bill Phillips' Body for Life. This was originally published in 1999, and I believe that he popularized a lot of the transformation movement. The before and after pics, a lot of that came from him, and he really did a pretty good job of capturing many of the components that are typical in a cut phase. And I mean, he comes from a bodybuilding background, so there's no surprise there. The next book that we're going to use is The New Abs Diet, and actually, the Abs Diet was originally published in 2004, and it's by David Cisenko. Hopefully I pronounced that right. He's the editor of Men's Health. So, published 5 years after Body for Life. And then here's where I'm going to have some fun. Unfortunately, this is, well, not unfortunately, but maybe unfortunately for Mr. Smith here, this is The Shred Revolutionary Diet by Ian Smith. And really, again, you heard me earlier, one of my frustrations, everyone thinks they're all revolutionary. So we're going to see, and we're going to look, so we're going to grab the stuff right from his book, and we're going to compare all these three books. This book was published in 2012, so 13 years after Bill Phillips' book and 8 years after the Abs Diet. So let's take a look at some of these. What we're going to talk about is hydration. And when I say hydration, basically all it means is getting enough water to hydrate your body. And typically that's what it's going to be. All of these programs and diets are recommending drinking water. And so why? No calories, and it's a low-lying fruit. It's a very easy thing to work into a diet. So if you look at Body for Life recommends a minimum of 10 glasses of water a day. The Abs Diet recommends 8 glasses of water a day. And the Shred Diet, they recommend 1 glass of water before each meal, 1 glass during each meal. And the way that diet is structured, you have 4 meals along with some snacks, so a minimum of 8 glasses of water. So 10, 8, 8. Again, I don't see the difference, so that's just an easy one. Let's move on to the next one, okay? Okay, so the next one is meal structure. I'm sure you guys have heard this, and you heard me mention it earlier during one of the intros, was the number of meals that you eat. And so Body for Life recommends eating 6 meals a day. And actually, it's more like 3 meals and 3 snacks. Abs Diet, same thing. 3 meals, 3 snacks. The Shred Diet has you have 4 meals, 3 snacks. Now, what I found interesting was that when you look at the times that they recommend, they're pretty similar. You would have like 8:30 and 10, 11:30 in one. Another one you have 8, 10, 12, 8, 11, 1. So again, the recommendations were basically the principle is you're eating often throughout the day. And so you're spacing your meals either 2 to 3 hours apart, 3 to 4 hours apart, and that's supposed to make it so that you don't feel so hungry. So again, not a significant difference. The other thing I noticed when I was writing the times down and comparing them was that when you look at them, Body for Life, you end up eating all of your meals within a 13-hour period. For the Abs Diet and for the Shred Diet, you actually end up eating all of your meals within 12 hours. What does that mean? Well, what that means is that the other 12 hours, you're fasting, right? And that's basically what you're doing. You're letting your body do a lot of the work for you. So when you're cutting, again, principle that's used often by bodybuilders. Really, it's recommended, try to eat all your meals or all your carbs by a certain time in the day, earlier in the day. Finish your last meal up by a certain time, so then you let your body work at burning away your calories overnight. So again, similar principles, similar habits. I don't really necessarily see a difference, though I'm sure that some of them might argue. I don't know. Moving on to the next one. Okay, next topic is going to be nutrition. Now, the way that Bill Phillips broke it out in Body for Life was he categorized the groups of food that you were able to use. And again, I think these are used constantly since then. Basically, he categorizes it as proteins, complex carbs, healthy fats, and vegetables. And I think personally that he did a fantastic job summarizing that list. And I would recommend anybody just go online, do a search on Body for Life food chart or something like that, and you'll get a fantastic list of food that is very nutritious and really will pretty much satisfy your appetite. Now, what I found interesting was then the abs diet. The abs diet, what they did was came up with a saying called abs diet power. And each of the letters stood for a category of food or a specific food. So like A was almonds and other nuts, beans, B, spinach and other vegetables, D was dairy products, on and on and on. So, of course, because I had to map it, I took each of the categories and I went back and I mapped it against Bill Phillips' chart because I was curious. And what I found interesting was that at least in the 1999 version of the food chart, I did not find overlap. I found overlap with everything except almonds, eggs, and really eggs were kind of a call because Bill Phillips is more on egg whites and egg substitutes, where the abs diet allows you to have eggs. Peanut butter was missing from Bill Phillips, and olive oil was missing from Bill Phillips in the healthy fats. But then what I did was I also went online and looked at his recent food chart, and guess what I found? Almonds and nuts, peanut butter, olive oil. So all of a sudden, the overlap on the nutrition was pretty much the same. With the shred diet, he didn't break it out into categories like that. He got into very detailed eating plans and gave you options, which you could go in the back of the book and look at, 150 calorie snacks, or he was really into soups, and I guess that's cool. But anyway, when you look at it, for the most part, a lot of the foods that he chose or recommended fall into the same protein, complex carbs, healthy fats, and vegetables. One of the things that I noticed about all of those is you look at all those foods, they're all low in sodium. And he did actually, and in the shred diet, that was one thing where I'm like, ooh, soups, sometimes those are high in sodium. But he did call out and make sure they're low in sodium. There's a reason for that. And, basically sodium is going to retain water. And that's part of what contributes to these diets, right? Is a lot of your typical American diet has a lot of sodium in it. When you look at these food choices, they're not so high in sodium. They're also, if you're balancing them out, a lot of these foods, spinach, avocados, broccoli, those have a lot of potassium in it, which is going to drive water out of your body. And so by making those food choices, you end up, again, contributing to weight loss. So again, didn't really see a huge difference. And I think that we're going to see as we move on, there's other things that I think actually impact your weight loss more than anything revolutionary that might have came from the shred diet. So moving on to the next one. All right, so the next one is probably one that you are familiar with. It is smoothies or shakes or whatever. A lot of these diets always recommend having a delicious smoothie. And in fact, I think there's one book out there, even not one of these three, but one that's based totally around smoothies. Like, okay, whatever. So, if you look at Body for Life, Bill Phillips, I think part of it was at the time he was also trying to sell one of his products, but basically he recommended his 3 snacks were smoothies and using his product. Again, that's fine. And so, you get it's convenient, it's easy to use, it's easy to make if you're in a hurry. So that's a great tool in your arsenal, right? If you look at abs diet, in the abs diet, when you look at, they also have smoothies and different recipes that you can make your own smoothie. And what he recommends in the sample plans when I was looking through them was what I saw was typically it was 2 smoothies every single day, and which is the same thing that I actually do right now. Sometimes I have more, but currently my plan is 1 to 2 smoothies a day. Nothing again earth-shattering or revolutionary. Looking at the shred diet, what he has in his plan is one of the meals is you get the choice between either a protein shake, a fruit smoothie, or again the soup. So getting back to the soup thing, so I think that was, again, you could potentially have 1 smoothie a day. So again, not necessarily revolutionary having a smoothie to make it easier for you to stay on your diet. So just a simple one. I'm not sure if it's a habit as more of a tool, but I did notice that commonality between the 3. So moving on to the next. Hey, so the next one might hurt a little bit. And the reason I say that, and I'm kidding, but it hurt me a little bit, was because I did, if you hadn't realized it already, try Body for Life back when I was younger. And later on, when I got out of shape and I came back into it, I tried the abs diet. Ironically, I didn't realize they were so similar. Go figure. But I always thought that I was getting a lot of food. And one of the things that I've noticed when I look at a lot of the more recent programs is that they're putting you on a calorie deficit, right? And what I've noticed is when you start looking at some of the programs that are putting you on restrictions, typically what I'm seeing, the numbers that I'm seeing usually are, I've seen them go pretty low, probably as low as 1,500 calories a day for men. I've seen it go 1,200 calories for women. But usually I think that the magic range in general seems to be between 1,500 calories and 2,000 calories. I think there's a reason for that, and I've been running some numbers, and we'll talk about that in another episode. But anyway, so I thought, well, I seem to remember that I was getting way more than that in those other diets. Of course, I wasn't counting calories because they don't recommend you to count calories. But me being curious, went ahead and started punching in some numbers. And so what I saw was, well, Body for Life will typically get you right around the 2,000 calorie range a day. And so I was surprised. I was like, oh man, really? It's probably on the higher end of some of the ones that I've seen, but definitely when you take it in conjunction with the exercise program and some of the other principles, you're going to lose weight. The abs diet, when I punched in a couple of those, what I noticed was depending on my food choices, I could see myself averaging between 1,800 and 2,000 calories a day. Again, you're going to drop weight on those restrictions. When I looked at the shred diet is set up, and the principle is meal confusion. So he changes the calorie amounts throughout the week, but basically what you're averaging to is, if you're looking at the different weeks, you have a range between 1,250 calories a week and up to 2,000 a week. That's kind of what you could end up depending on your choices. On average, it seemed you could end up between 1,500 and 1,600 calories a day on that diet. You're definitely going to lose weight on that amount of calories. Most of us will, regardless of meal structure, regardless of meal choices. I don't think that cutting calories to a more extreme level than earlier diets is, again, revolutionary. So when I ran those numbers, I'm like, oh, no wonder. Again, I actually think that is going to be the overriding factor. Now, yeah, it might fill you up, and maybe that's the reason for the soups. I don't know. Um, I just know that I would never personally go down that low. I'm sure there are plenty of other diets that will, but I just don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's sustainable. And I think when you go on something like that, there's a reason why you go back to your old habits so fast, because you're miserable. So anyway, calorie restriction. The magic range seems to be between 1,500 to 2,000. Abs diet, 2,000. I'm sorry, Body for Life, 2,000. Abs diet, 1,800 to 2,000. The shred diet, even lower, significantly lower. So again, cutting calories, not revolutionary. Now we're going to get to the exercise portion. A lot of the popular diets program, the transformation ones, they have an exercise component. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about exercise. I love exercising. So I'm not talking poorly about any of these. What I'm just going to point out is the similarities. And they're actually, what's interesting is that between all three of these, they're actually quite different in the exercise activity, but then they're similar at the higher level. And so what I mean by that is, Body for Life is focused on lifting weights. And the concept that he's using is he's targeting certain ranges. So, he has you work out with weights 3 times a week on alternating days. And then on the other days when you're not lifting weights, you're doing 20 minutes of cardio in the morning on an empty stomach. The weight portion of that, the focus there is it's upper body, lower body, and it's like the traditional bodybuilding set. So like you're going to hit bench press for 4 sets. And he's got it set up so that you're increasing the weight, the reps are going down, and then you're pushing through on the last set with a superset. That may not have made any sense to some of you guys if you haven't lifted weights before, but those of you that do or have, it's basically you're pyramiding. And so it's more focused on weights and more traditional weightlifting. Again, the thing is to keep in mind is 6 times a week. And when you look at the recommended times, what he has is basically you're averaging 3 hours and 18 minutes a week of exercise. So keep that number in mind. Now, the abs diet, very similar. 6 times a week. Again, exact thing as Body for Life. But that component is he has a circuit. And that circuit can be either done with weights or it can be done without weights. And basically what the circuit does is that you're hitting an exercise, you're resting for 30 seconds, hitting the next exercise, and you're going through and hitting your entire body. And in all honesty, when people ask me, especially someone who hasn't been lifting or exercising and they're interested in, I actually point them to this circuit. I think this circuit is phenomenal. So again, not coming down on it, but again, pointing out the similarities between the programs. And when I looked at the time there, the abs diet basically averages out to 3 hours and 5 minutes a day. So Body for Life, 3 hours and 18 minutes a week. Sorry, 3 hours a day. That's what I work out. No, I'm kidding. My wife might argue on some days, but anyway. 3 hours and 18 minutes a week for Body for Life, 3 hours and 5 minutes for abs diet, 6 times. So basically the habit that they're getting you into is working out consistently, which I think is great. And once the diet's over, you should continue to exercise, right? I mean, that's what kind of baffles me why people stop. Anyway, the shred diet, What the shred diet does, it's more focused on cardio. And so what that does is he has you exercise, doing some kind of cardio exercise that you get to choose from 5 times a week with 2 rest days. And again, he really does like this confusion thing, where there are days where you're not exercising on every day, and he changes the amount of times that you're working out every day. But what happens is when you look, um, you're having a range between 3 hours and 5 minutes a week, which coincidentally matches the abs diet, dun, 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 to 3 hours and 30 minutes. And 3 of the weeks are actually 3 hours and 15 minutes a week, which is only 3 minutes off Body for Life. So again, look, not trying to go against exercising, because I love exercising, and I really hope that you guys understand that the reason I'm doing some of this stuff is I'm just showing you there's some common principles in all of these diets, and you can leverage them, and you should leverage them. But I think what happens is because you're so focused on the diet, you're not focused on the habits. And so they're very good habits in all of these. But again, when I hear the word revolutionary, what I'm trying to prove to you is they're not revolutionary. They're common. And they're just common principles that if you start paying attention and you start looking for them and you realize, hey, what's the habit? So the habit is, I'm eating healthy, right? The habit is I'm going to drink 8 glasses of water, right? Or maybe I'm going to drink 10. I'm going to drink 12. It's up to you, but that's a habit. Now, if you want to choose that as your habit, great, focus on that. You want to do one of these diets, great, but once you're done with the diet, make sure you keep drinking water. Then, next habit maybe is you look at the nutritional components. Hey, I should be eating, proteins, complex carbs, healthy fats, plenty of vegetables. You can continue to eat that way. You can just increase the amounts up to a certain level and keep yourself within a range. That's possible. You don't have to just go cold turkey once you stop the diet. And so again, calories. A lot of them say don't count calories. Personally, I think you should count calories at some point. And it's so easy, and I'm curious if maybe the abs diet and Bill Phillips, because this was before, everyone had a cell phone, right? You can download a simple app, MyFitnessPal or whatever, to your phone, and you can look. And the reason I say you should, even if it's only for a week or two, is because then you're going to start punching in those numbers and you're going to go, holy cow, how much junk is in that, what I'm eating? And you're going to, most of you, I personally think, is you're going to find out that you're going to start making changes just by tracking. And so again, if you're on one of these, understand you're going to cut calories. And yes, depending on the food choices that you make, they do help you to feel full, and that's fine. I mean, when I cut, I actually go down to about 2,000 calories a day. And the food choices that I have are very common, very similar to, the food choices that I would see in Body for Life or the abs diet. Mine have evolved, and I've got other little things that I particularly like, but that's because I figured them out for myself, and I think that you need to do the same thing. So again, I hope I'm making my point. They're all very, very similar. Nothing's going to replace learning how to eat properly and figuring out what works for you. I may like broccoli a lot. I may like ground turkey a lot for my protein. I may like avocados and sweet potatoes and spinach to get my potassium. But maybe you don't. And that's okay. Maybe you are going to like more chicken or more tuna, or maybe, maybe you're allergic to some of this broccoli, or maybe you follow a vegan diet. You need to figure out, though, what is healthy for you and what works. Because I don't know. Number of meals, right? I mentioned in an earlier video, I have 6 a day. But actually, I also have a small snack before I work out, and sometimes, depending, I may have a snack afterwards. And that's when if I'm cutting or if I'm bulking, which is a totally different discussion in the future, I actually have a different meal structure. But I have the habits, right? And the habit is I have a meal structure. It's easy. It's a lot easier to plan your day. So again, just hope that you understand that. I'm not. I do hesitate on some of the ones that cut the calories so low. And if you feel the need to do that, that's fine. But what I would also recommend is as you're doing it, pay attention to some of the habits and pay attention to maybe you like a certain food that is healthy. You pick up a certain exercise that you like to do. And you know what? You continue to do that. And then maybe what you do is you say, you know what? I was doing the diet. I didn't like the soups. Right, sorry, I got to pick on the soups. You know I do. You know what? Instead, I'm always going to have a smoothie. Or I'm going to go and I'm going to have a healthy sandwich, or whatever. You know what? That's okay. It's okay. As long as you like it and it's healthy. It becomes your thing. You just have to figure out what it is that works for you. So, hope that made sense, and I hope that I was able to prove my point that at the highest level, they're all the same. And you know what? I'm going to continue. We're going to have some fun as these evolve. I'm going to keep send me books to read. I'll read them all and I'll compare them and I'll show you that a lot of them fall within a lot of these principles. They're all at 90% the same. So anyway, moving on. Who knows? With the next video, I'll come up with something fun, and we'll talk about some stuff. But thanks for watching, and I hope that as you're looking at some of this stuff, you're thinking about what you want to do to attain that healthy and fit lifestyle that I sincerely hope that you're able to attain. Have a great day.